Welcome everyone to our daily class with our amazing educators from AMHSI. This is a joint initiative between Alexander Muss High School in Israel and Jewish National Fund in the United States. Today we have the distinct pleasure of learning from and hearing songs with Akiva Gersh. Akiva Gersh is originally from New York and made Aliyah to Israel in 2004. Since 2007, he has been teaching Jewish history and modern Israel at the Alexander Muss High School in Israel, where he guides visiting high school students through the story of the Jewish people, mainly through tiyulim, excursions to historical, cultural, religious, and ecological sites around the country. He is also a contributing blogger at the Times of Israel, as well as a musician. In 2010, Akiva created Holy Land Spirit, an uplifting and spiritual musical experience for Christian groups visiting Israel that fosters interfaith celebration, understanding, and dialogue. In 2017, Akiva published his first book entitled Becoming Israeli, a compilation of blogs and essays about the experience of making Aliyah and acclimating to life in Israel. Akiva holds a BA in Religious Studies from Brown University, an MA in Jewish Education from Yeshiva University, and received rabbinic ordination from Yeshivat Sulam Yaakov in Jerusalem. He and his wife live in Pardes Chana with their 4 children. And with that, I will turn it over to Akiva.
Alrighty, thanks so much. And thanks everyone for joining in tonight for the almost nightly learning via Zoom with our wonderful AMHSI, JNF, and beyond community. So I'm really excited about tonight's class. I'm basically going to take you through what I like to call a mini curriculum of Israeli music. And it's something that I share with my students. Now, what we're going to do tonight, depending on how the time goes, would normally take me maybe a couple of weeks to do with my students. We're going to do it all here in one session. And what it is and what it's based off of is the beginning few minutes. Now, that could go from 10 to 30 minutes. And if it's going really well and really deep, it literally can go to 45 minutes to an hour on one song with my class. And these are obviously the days that we're not on TO, that we're on our campus in Hodeshfront in the classroom teaching. And like most, if not all teachers, we get into the classroom. We don't just start right away, giving our history lesson. We say, hi, Boker Tov, shmooze with them, see how they're doing, what's going on. If it's a Sunday, how was your weekend, Shabbat? We'll share news with them, current events, either from a newspaper or via a news website, via the internet. And also for me, and I think for some other teachers as well, we've started to, in the past year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, started to introduce music also, Israeli music into the classroom as part of our learning experience. And there are 2 major reasons and goals for me personally why I do this. One is because it's just fun. Everybody loves music, and it's just like a nice way to start class. Whether we did news or not, whether we start with music or start with the news, usually I like to start with the music. It's more lively, wake them up. It's morning time, it's early, they're teenagers, they're tired. And it's just a great way to wake them up and get them excited. I've seen it pretty much all the time whenever I do it, fortunately. And the second is to use this, and I tell them straight up that we are doing this, one, to again, start the class in a lighter kind of fun way, but also to enable ourselves to understand Israeli culture and society better. Now, whether our students are coming to us for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 months, 4 months, whatever it is, they're getting a full-on, deep exposure to Israeli life, culture, history, and society. But the music gives another unique slice to it all, right? Sharing the Israeli music, which I find is done most successfully in the classroom. Now we can and we do put it on the bus, right? And it's fun. It makes like a nice bus environment as we're traveling to and from Tiyulim. But I feel like in the classroom is where I, as an educator, can use it as an educational tool the best, right? I can frame it and we can have a discussion about it, which is basically what we're going to do and experience together tonight through this class. We're going to look at a few Israeli songs and basically keep asking the question, what can they, along with their videos, and I've chosen specific videos or specific songs with videos that also enhance the experience of understanding Israel better. But what can we get? What can we glean from these songs and from these videos about Israeli life, culture, and society? All right. So that's what we're going to do tonight. I'll just give one last little piece to this preface, is that me personally, right, as we heard in the introduction, I made Aliyah in 2004. Just like a brief bio, just for the reason to understand the context of why I do this more. I grew up in New York. I grew up knowing I was Jewish, but very, very lightly connected Jewishly. I had no connection whatsoever growing up to Israel. I didn't come to Israel until I was 22 years old for the first time. It's a whole story, not for now. But I say that because when I made Aliyah in 2004, I made it from a very kind of spiritual place. I had, even then, even when I made Aliyah, it sounds kind of crazy and funny, especially to be as an AMHSI educator. I didn't come from a Zionist perspective. I didn't come from a Zionist background or even education. This is all something that I gained, fortunately, I'm very thankful for that, later on after I made Aliyah. And of course, working at AMHSI enhanced that and strengthened that greatly for me. But I didn't come with this Israeli kind of connection and knowledge. I wanted to make Aliyah because it's the state of the Jews, it's the Jewish state, it's the Jewish homeland, and I felt really connected as a Jew to this place. But I had no connection to Israeli culture or society, even once I made Aliyah. And I remember sitting in meetings at AMHSI, and David Mitchell, who I think is on this call, where I would say, guys, bring in music, play it on the bus, play it in the classroom. And I was like, to myself, I never really said it out loud. I was like, I don't know Israeli music. Like, what can I possibly share? I don't know Israeli music. I'm listening to my music that I grew up with, right? Music is a very personal thing, right? And like, just because I'm in Israel, I'm going to start listening to Israeli music. I have no nostalgia. I have no memories. I have no personal depth or connection to. It didn't make sense to me, right? But as time went on, and I did want to become more Israeli, and that's why I called my book Becoming Israeli, right? That was not a plug, don't worry, all right? You can't find it on Amazon.com, but that was not a plug either, all right? As I really did want to become more Israeli, and more importantly, as I started having kids, and as my kids started to grow up, right? They brought music, and of course, they brought Israeli music into our homes, into our house, and that was really when things started to really change for me. And I was exposed to Israeli music more, and I started to enjoy Israeli music, and I started to connect to it, and I started to form my own personal connections to it, and that was a huge game changer for me, right? Not just because I knew more music, but I knew Israeli music, and that really had a huge impact on my feeling Israeli, feeling connected to Israel, and feeling like I knew more about Israel. Again, I made Aliyah in 2004. I was 28 years old. I missed the army. I missed growing up here. I missed all the things that my own kids are experiencing and are going to experience. So having that musical part of my life here was a real added dimension for me. And that's what I'm trying to really share with my students in our classes when we do this mini curriculum at the beginning of each class. So typically on a 2-month program, I will hopefully go through 10 to 15 different songs with my students. And we really get into them. We first get to know them, and some of them become like our class hits, and we like listen to them multiple times, and we sing them out on TU, and we sing them on the bus and whatever. But we really do use them as educational tools, and that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to start with our first song, and I will just also add before I start the first song, you might not like this kind of music, right? And I say that to my students, like, I'm going to play some songs right now. You might not like it as an individual, as like, you know, compared to the music you choose to listen to in your own life. And that's fine, right? The point here, the main point is to, again, to use it as this tool to better connect to Israel, to better understand Israel, to learn more about Israeli society and culture. You might wind up liking these songs in the end, right? Many of my students do. I do personally choose songs that are more or less in line with like the typical teenage kind of musical preferences, like hip hop and rap and things like that. But not all of them are, as you will hopefully see. So with all that said, let's begin. I am going to share my screen. And if there's any problems, please, someone let me know in hearing the actual songs. We did a volume test before, and it was pretty much totally fine. Okay, but we're good. Then you can see my screen. Yofi. So let me get this bigger. How do I? Yeah, I think like that. Okay, I'm going to get this bigger. And right now, we're just going to listen to the song. Okay, I'm not going to talk. We're just going to listen to the song. This first song, I'm not going to go the whole way through. Well, we'll see. Maybe I will, just for fun. But this one happens to have English subtitles. Not all of them do. I'm sorry to say, but we can still use them as educational tools nonetheless. But this one does have the English. Let's listen to this very famous Israeli song, Kfi Shachof, by Static and Ben El, very famous pop artists here in Israel, especially amongst the younger ones here in Israel. Let's listen to the song. And the question I want to ask right before we listen to it is, what can we understand about Israel from this song and from this video? Imagine you're someone who knows almost next to nothing about Israel. You really don't know that much, right? And you see this video, you know it's in Israel, you know it's Hebrew, you know it's Israeli musicians. When you're done listening to this music after like 3 minutes and 19 seconds, what are you going to think about Israel? What are you going to feel about Israel? What's going to be your perspective about Israel just based on this song? So let's play it and let's discuss after. Here we go.
Akiva, I think we're having some issues with the sound.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I'm hearing that people can't really hear. I'm going to send the link to Daniel and he'll share it, and that might actually solve the problem. Apologize about that. Let me just see how to get out of here. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, we'll try that. I'll send you the link. All right, we have some of the links that he's going to be sharing because we tested this before, but this song was actually okay, but clearly it's not. So sorry guys, I'm going to send this over and hopefully that will solve the problem. Hold on 1 second here. Here we go. I'm sending you the link right now. It's an option of screen share. Hold on. Maybe I didn't even. Did people not hear anything? A little bit, people are saying. Gotcha. Let's try it now again. Sorry about that. And let's see. It looks like I might not have pressed a certain button of sharing the actual music, not only the screen. My bad. Let's try that again. Sorry for the, yeah, do you want me to try? Let me press something. Starting share is going to stop another, okay, so. Do you want me to try again, Danielle, or do you want to try it? I'm going to try. Oh, I see that. Okay, I see this. Okay, I see share computer sound. Here we go. Okay, guys, let's try this again and give us feedback. Sorry about that. We're going to start from over here. Let's do it.
על כביש החוף, רוח בשיער שוטפת הנוף, חבר'ה מאחורה מדברים בלי סוף, הכל יהיה טוב, על כביש החוף, רוח בשיער שוטפת הנוף, חבר'ה מאחורה מדברים בלי סוף, הכל יהיה טוב, הכל זורם טוב. רגל על הגז ואצבע על הרדיו, מכבה את הבעיות שלי כמו סיגריות, החלון שלי פתוח אז בטוח שהרוח תספר לעולם מה שנשאר לו. כמה טוב, לא לחשוב, לתת למוזיקה לסחוף את החבר'ה ואותי עד הסוף. על כביש החוף, רוח בשיער שוטף את הנוף, חבר'ה מאחורה מדברים בלי סוף, הכל יהיה טוב, על כביש החוף, רוח בשיער שוטף מסלול אני המלך, הדלק יספיק לכל הדרך בערך, המוזיקה באוטו מתחננת שתגביר, וגם אם אתה תנמיך אף אחד לא יפסיק לשיר. יש דור שלם שמחכה לשמוע שלבלגן כבר יהיה סוף, עזוב את הפקק ובוא נתחיל לנסוע, תן לאהבה להכל על כביש החוף, רוח בשיער שוטף את הנוף, חבר'ה מאחורה מדברים בלי סוף, הכל יהיה טוב, על כביש החוף, רוח בשיער שוטף את הנוף, חבר'ה מאחורה מדברים בלי סוף, הכל יהיה טוב, הכל זורם טוב. השקיעה צובעת את השמיים באדום, כבר נגמר לא זה עוד לא הזמן לחלום עד שהגענו עד הלום, אין מצב שנעצור אנחנו לא נתייאש והלילה לא נגמר, הווייז יכול לחפור עד מחר, אין מצב עולים על כביש יקר על כביש החוף, רוח בשיער שוטף את הנוף, חבר'ה מאחורה מדברים בלי סוף, הכל יהיה טוב, על כביש החוף, רוח בשיער שוטף את הנוף, חבר'ה מאחורה מדברים בלי סוף, הכל יהיה טוב, הכל זורם טוב, תגידו חיפה, ג'ורדי ענן תורן בנלתן מכל השטויות היאלו סטאט בוי, רגע אחי, תעצור איפה סטאט בוי?
Okay. Alrighty, and we're back. All right, sorry about that little glitch. That was the first time I was ever trying to share sound over Zoom. Now I know what to do. Yofi, so we just listened to that song, and using the chat, I want to ask you guys a couple of questions. First of all, again, imagine you're somebody who doesn't know very much about Israel. Maybe you don't know anything about Israel at all. Again, that's not you guys, but imagine you are a person like that. And you see this video. And again, you know it's from Israel, you know it's Hebrew, you know it's talking about Israelis, it's filmed in Israel, all that kind of stuff. What's the feeling? What's the vibe? What's the reaction you're going to get from seeing this video? People, you can share in the chat, and let's get some thoughts going. Curious to see what you guys are thinking. California surfer vibe. It's just like USA. Very interesting. Okay. Very happy and upbeat. Yafeh. Right. Some more reactions. Uplifting, optimistic, carefree. It's very chill, laid back. Awesome. Yafeh. Okay. Great. Let's just even take those comments because you guys hit a lot of very important points. So people, and I see this all the time. I've been sharing this song with my students now for a few years. This tends to become our class song. Eventually, I actually teach them the Hebrew words of the chorus of the song right on the board. They get it in the notebook, and we sing it throughout the program. It becomes like our anthem. But specifically becomes our anthem for the points that you guys are already bringing up. Okay, so people watch this, they hear it, and they're just like, wow, it's just like a carefree, uplifting, happy kind of vibe. Yofi, right? What gives that away? You know, the scenes of the video, the people driving around, they're smiling, they're dancing, they're having a good time. All right, very uplifting, very positive, very optimistic. What do we see specifically, and you can share it in the chat right now as well, what do we see specifically in the words? Either you understood the Hebrew or you saw the English translation. What in the words gives also support to that kind of feeling of very just kind of like, you know, very positive and uplifting? What did you hear or see in the words that also supports that idea coming out of this song? Feel free to share. You can even say like specific words, a specific phrase. Anybody? Come on. Oh, yeah. Want to sing it together? All is good, okay? Right, so we hear in the Hebrew throughout the song, right? Zohem tov, right? Kol zohem tov, right? Everything flows like just fine and good, like yeh tov, right? Everything will be fine, right? Which is reminiscent of the classic Israeli phrase and expression, "Hakol yeh beseder." Right? Hakol beseder. Everything's fine. Everything's gonna be fine. Don't worry. No matter what situation, everything's gonna be fine. Right? So we see it like in the visual of the video, this very kind of uplifting, positive feeling and message. We see it in the words themselves. Right? I'm going through the words a little bit. Right? Right, again, going back to this idea of hakol yeh tov, everything's going to be just fine, right? Yofi. So again, I don't know much about Israel. It's positive. These are positive people, okay? But why, when I see this video and I hear this song and I hear those lyrics and I just see this very positive vibe, I'm just thinking like, wow, it's really, they're just like happy people. They're like hanging out with their friends and they're making time to be with their friends and they're driving around and, you know, they break down their car. Don't worry, it's going to be all good. Don't worry. What's the big deal, right? Even the police people are dancing. Obviously, it's a video. But again, that's the vibe. As I understand more about Israel, and of course, if I already come into this video understanding more about Israel, why is that going to surprise me? Obviously. Now, again, this audience here we have tonight is obviously coming from a different place than most of our students are coming from, especially in the first couple of days of the program when I'm going to share this song with them, right? But why is this message, so to speak, that's coming out of this song very surprising for people when they start to really learn about Israel, right? Its history, its politics, its current events and issues, right? Feel free to share in the chat also. Anytime I ask a question, feel free to share in the chat. Why is that surprising for people? Right, this positive, uplifting, and it's not just a video. We know this. We're people who know Israel really well. We know that this is, you know, very much the Israeli attitude and an Israeli vibe. All right, where's the unrest? Religious people, right? Okay, so people are right. There are things missing from this video for sure. It's not a full-on, you know, representation of the diversity of Israel, both in terms of its people and its day-to-day issues, for sure. But when, again, someone sees this video, hears this song, feels like, wow, this is the message. And even when they learn more about Israel, they will learn more about those issues and the disunity and all those different political and religious problems. But they will still, right, hold on to this understanding that Israelis do have this like hakol yeh tov, hakol yeh beseder, everything's going to be okay kind of attitude, right? Why is that shocking to them? Why is that surprising to them, right? We know because we know that Israel's like living in the middle of like the Middle East, you know, with all these problems and all these borders, right? It's, you know, social demographic issues, you know, religious, you know, non-religious, you know, splits, everything you can imagine, like Israel is dealing with on a day-to-day basis, you know, security issues and all the different things that come with it, right? And you're going to tell me still the people in that video are an accurate representation of Israelis? And of course, we're going to say, yeah. We know that because either we live here, we visited many times, and we know that that's how Israelis are. So then the next question, probably the biggest question, is how, right? And these are all questions that I'm going to ask my students, and I do ask my students as we're debriefing, as we're processing, deconstructing this song, right? After we've listened to it. So that's the big question. How is it possible that Israelis still maintain a sense of joy, a sense of happiness in their day-to-day lives, despite the unimaginable amount of issues that they have to deal with, again, politically, with security, with religious divide, and all the other things that we can add to the list? How is it possible? Feel free to share. Right? How is it possible that Israelis are still happy people? How is it possible? We know that when there are like studies and surveys around the world done, that Israel ranks in the top 10, top 15, whatever it might be, of the happiest countries in the world. How is that possible? Right? Anybody want to share a thought or two? Feel free. How is it possible that people can live with such unrest, such a plethora of issues and conflicts and problems, and sending your kids to the army and all these different things that comes with living in Israel, and yet they're such happy people? In breira, right? So let's look at the first one. So okay, go. In breira, like you have no choice. What? You can either choose to be happy or sad, and Israelis are choosing to be happy. Great, awesome, right? They live in the moment, someone is saying. They live in the moment. Good. Why are they living in the moment? Why do you think Israelis maybe have this like, you know, special skill of living in the moment? It's a really good point. It's a very good comment, right? Because it's so easy not to. It's so easy to be overwhelmed here. I've been living here, as you guys heard already a few times, since like 2004, and I've had definitely my moments of just like, oh, it's so intense, it's so overwhelming. Like, I don't want to leave here. I love living here for like a million reasons, but it gets really intense. Okay, I just want to scroll up here so I can see more of these comments. Right? They live in the moment, maybe despite the fact that we live in such a complex corner of the world. Survival, same reason we can never plan to visit with them more than a day in advance. Okay, good. All right. So just kind of taking all of that together that people just said, right? We can learn from this song, experience in the IDF, familiar with conflict, and possibly near the good, right? It's intense. It's intense to say that, but it's very, very true. It's very, very accurate description. Again, putting all these comments together, Israelis deal with a lot. And they grow up dealing with a lot. From young ages, their eyes are already open, their ears are already open to things that kids, Jewish kids, any kid in America, in most places in America at least, will not know till a much older age. I remember once seeing my oldest kid now is 13 years old, but I remember when he was like literally 5 years old, I caught him on the couch reading a book about the Holocaust. I was in shock. I literally didn't even know where he got it from, right? And it's like learning. It wasn't like the most intense, gruesome portrayal of the Holocaust, but it was about the Holocaust. It was like stories, and it was like, I was like, where did this come from, and how is he learning about this? And I came to realize as I lived here longer, Israeli kids are going to know about the Holocaust at a much younger age than kids outside of Israel. There's a siren, right? Every single year. We just had it a couple of days ago. When they're in Gan, when my 3-year-old is in Gan, right? He doesn't fully understand why there's a siren in Yom HaShoah and the Holocaust, but he knows that he's standing up for something. And as they get older, 4 years, 5 years old already for sure, their teachers have to tell them something. But why there's a siren, of course, they're going to say it in an age-accurate way, age-appropriate way. But they're growing up here knowing so much about the Holocaust, about the conflict, about security. I mean, my kids ask me questions that at ages I never imagined they would ask at such an age, right? So they're growing up with so much more. And of course, as they get older and they go into the army and they're experiencing even more, right? They're dealing with a lot, and they have to make that, like, and someone said survival. It really is an inyan. It's an issue of survival here. If you choose not to be happy, then you're already dead, right? You already lost the war. You already lost the battle, right? What's the point? Right? And Israelis, time and time again, for years, for decades, are choosing to be happy. They're choosing to live life. And I share this with my students again when we're processing this song, that you'll see as your time here goes on, 8 weeks, 3 months, 4 months, whatever it is, you're going to see out and about how Israelis choose life, whether they're just sitting with their friends or their family having a cup of coffee, right, in Tel Aviv, or when you went to a host family for Shabbat, and you're so, how many family members come together? And it wasn't just because you showed up. They do that every Friday night. Right? And it's just choosing to live life, right? It's choosing to make the time, to spend the time with friends, with family, because they understand how fragile life is, right? Your average Israeli, let's be honest, it's sad, it's intense, but your average Israeli knows someone who died in a conflict, maybe in battle, in a terror attack, right? This is stuff that growing up in America, I didn't know, right? And it's just a different kind of existence. And so therefore they choose out of survival, right, out of commitment and a will and a strength and a strong desire to, like, we're not going to give in, we're not going to give up. We work to be here, we're going to work to stay here, right? And we can only do that if we're happy, right? And so again, I think we see that in this song very, very strongly. We can process it more, but I want to go into another song right now. So I'm going to send you the next link. You know what, actually, no, we learned that I can do it for my thing. I just have to choose a volume. We're going to go into the next song right now. Some of you guys might know this song. This is Hadag Nachash, one of their older songs, but it's a classic Hadag Nachash song, and it's a classic educational tool. All right. There's actually even a whole curriculum built off of this song, and I kind of do that in mini version with my class right now, as you will see. So let's just share. Okay, sound is good. All right, so we're going to look at this song right now. This is the sticker song. All right, this song came out some years ago by a very famous Israeli hip hop band, Hadag Nachash, probably one of the most famous, if not the most famous. Kids tend to get to know them as they spend more time in Israel. They're fun, they're upbeat, they're also very positive. Many of their songs, also kind of strange and funny. And we're going to listen to the song, but what's unique about this song, it's called the sticker song. I don't have English subtitles, unfortunately, for this one. But what you'll see, or what you should know about this song, the reason it's called the sticker song is because it was composed by a famous writer in Israel called, his name is David Grossman. And he wrote the words, which then became a Hadag Nachash song, which was a funny kind of collaboration between these two forces. He wrote the song purely based on Israeli bumper stickers. So every line of the song basically is an Israeli bumper sticker slogan, right? And he put it together in a way that like sounds good, rhymes well, and all that kind of stuff. And Dr. Hash took that poem and made it into this song. So basically, we're gonna watch this song, and again, I'm gonna ask the same question. We're gonna listen to the song. We're gonna watch the video. Both of them are, I think, equally as important. And even if you don't understand the Hebrew, don't worry, the video itself, the visuals give over plenty to think about and talk about. And again, at the end, I'm going to ask you guys, what do we get from this song about Israeli society and culture? All right, at the end of the video, you're going to see they're actually going to start putting up all these bumper stickers, right, these slogans that appear in the song. All right, so if anyone has anything they need to say to me or any of the other hosts, say so over the chat. But I hope everyone will be able to hear well. I'll probably ask in the chat just to make sure. Here we go. Oh, sorry, here we go. Let's go from the beginning.
דורש שלום, תנו לצהל לנצח, עם חזק עושה שלום, תנו לצהל לכסח, אין שלום עם ערבים, אל תיתנו להם רובים, קרבי זה הכי, הכי, גיוס לכולם, תור לכולם, אין שום ייאוש בעולם, יש על זה כאן, אנחנו מאומן, no fear, משיח בעיר, אין ערבים, אין פיגועים, בקץ מסכן יהודים, העם עם הגולן, העם עם הטרנספר, חבר אתה חסר, הקדוש ברוך הוא, אנחנו בוחרים בך, בחירה ישירה זרה, הקדוש ברוך הוא, אנחנו קנאים לך, ימותו הקנאים, כמה רוע, אפשר לבלוע, אבא תרחם, קוראים לי נחמן ואני וגם גאים, כמה רוע, אפשר לבלוע, אבא תרחם, ברוך השם, אני נושם ולכם. מדינת הלכה, הלכה המדינה, משנולד ירוויח, יחי המלך המשיח, יש לי ביטחון בשלום של שרון, חברון, מאז ולתמיד, ומי שלא נולד הפסיד, חברון אבות שלום, תצפר כהנא צדק, CNN משקר, צריך מנהיג חזק, סכון על השלום, תודה על הביטחון, אין לנו ילדים למלחמות מיותרות, השמאל עוזר לערבים, טוב ליהודים, פושעי אוסלו לדין, אנחנו כאן הם שם, אחים לא מפקירים, עקירת יישובים, מפלגת את העם, מוות לבוגרים, תנו לחיות לחיות, מוות לערכים, כמה רוע, אפשר לבלוע, אבא תרחם, קוראים לי נחמן ואני וגם גאים, כמה רוע, אפשר לבלוע, אבא תרחם, ברוך השם, אני נושם ולכם.
Okay, so let's stop share. We're actually going to get back to that in a moment. But okay, Yofi, our second song, right? Again, I want to ask you the question, just in general, you see that video, you hear that song, whether you understood some of the Hebrew or not, doesn't matter. What's the general feeling you get from that song about Israel? Right? What do you walk away from that song, thinking, feeling, impressions about Israel? Feel free to write in the chat. My feet are dancing under the that's great too. No, diversity, fair. Other things that come to mind for people? What you get from that video, what you get from that song? People are very aware of what's going on in their world. Okay, you'll see, interesting. Reposting honesty, fair. Okay, let's start with, feel free to keep sharing if you want in the chat. but let's go with diversity, okay? I mean, this is a whole lesson in and of itself. And literally, this is actually the second song I share with my students. And I literally take an hour on this one. We're not going to take an hour. We don't have an hour. But I literally take an hour to process this song with them because there's so much here just on diversity, right? Already it's maybe just their fourth or fifth day in Israel. We maybe been out on Teal once. I share this song with them. It's the first week. And this allows me to share with them about like who are Israelis, right? So when we see this video, it really helps us to like get our brains, churning as to who are the people that live in Israel. But I often like to ask them before you got here, though, right? Especially because most of them have never been in before, especially for the ones who've never been in before. Who, like, when you thought of Israelis, like, what did you think of? Right? What are the stereotypes? And often, of course, people say, oh, religious, all those kind of like typical Jewish kind of things. And then they get here and they realize like not everyone looks the same. There's so much diversity, both visually and in terms of lifestyle. And we see this, really portrayed in the video. So start writing in the chat for me, please, guys. What are the different kinds of Israelis that you guys see portrayed and represented in this video? Go for it. What are the different kind of Israelis you see portrayed and represented in this video? When we're talking about diversity, who are we talking about? You can give one word answers. Go for it. Soldiers. Okay, religious, Arab, party animals, soldiers, non-soldiers, Ethiopian Jews. Good. Anything else that comes to mind? Right, or there is lots of material? All right, so of course we see religious, right? Tell me what kind of religious? Okay, so you say Israeli Arab, very good. You say religious, what do you mean by religious? Religious conservative, okay? Arabs, Ethiopians, Haredi, Dati Leumi, thank you, good. Jew, Muslim, awesome, you guys are hitting them, okay? All right, Yofi. So let's just talk about religion. So first of all, and I do this on the board with my students, I say, okay, what are the big categories, right, that you can break Israeli society down into? So first of all, right, I think one of the biggest categories that you can break them down into is Jewish and Muslim, or Jewish and Arab more accurately. All right, so you have Jewish and you have Arab, and under Arab, right, what are the two main kinds of Arabs we have in Israel? Who wants to say? When you think about Arab Israelis, all right, Muslim and Christian, very good. All right, most of them Muslim, but there still is a decent and sizable Christian Arab population here. Going over to the Jewish side, okay. Now, if I want to split the Jewish, community here in Israel into two major categories, we get to religious and secular. And then I go to the religious. How do I understand the religious? Okay. And these are where things will come up, and we're not going to go so deeply into this kind of topic or issue, but we're going to see how it's mainly Orthodox, right? Not all, of course, but mainly it's either, okay, Orthodox or secular, as lots of people call it Chiluni. Okay, but that's just staying on the Orthodox side, not to get too lost here. When I get to the Orthodox side, what does that mean? All right, so of course you guys have said Haredi, Dati Leumi, modern Orthodox, and the like. A much smaller population of Reform Jews and conservative Jews, of course, here in Israel, as compared to places like America and Europe. And that's a whole other conversation in and of itself, which we're not going to get into, but you can easily have with students, right? But then understanding the differences between Haredi and modern Orthodox, or Dati Leumi, which doesn't always translate so well as modern Orthodox, right? Who can tell us what's the major differences between Haredi Jews in Israel and Dati Leumi, modern religious, or maybe more accurately, national religious, I should say, here in Israel? What's the main difference between Haredi and national religious in Israel? Who wants to say? All right, support of the state of Israel versus non-good. All right, and along with that, going to the army. And these are, again, we're not going to go into the depths of the depths right now, but these are things that will come up for students sitting in the classroom, 15, 20 of them, just, freshly in Israel, eyes opening wide. Wait a minute, what does it mean? I thought all Orthodox Jews don't go to the army. I hear that all the time from my students. Orthodox Jews in Israel don't go to the army. And I say, no, that's not true. Right? Like, what do you mean? Like, we see that in the news all the time. Of course we see that in the news all the time. What do you have to change? What word do you have to change from that sentence? Orthodox Jews don't go to the army. What's the more accurate word to replace another word in that sentence? Who wants to say? Anybody can say. Haredi, very good. Okay, and even that's not 100% accurate, right? Because there are some Haredi, yes, a small percentage, and that's a whole other issue, right? And again, we're not going to go into right now, but these are all the issues that come out of this Hadag Nachash song, right? And what I went from the Hadag Nachash, like this Israeli hip hop song and band, to like talking about like Haredi not going to the army, yeah. Right, that's what we can do with this specific song. All right. So again, we're not going to go into it, but we say yes, most Haredi Jews don't go into the army. Some of them do. Okay, and that number is slowly growing. Okay, that's a whole issue in and of itself. Okay, but why? Why don't Haredi Jews go into the army? And again, I know you guys know a lot of this stuff, but just let's give a quick answer. Why do most Haredi Jews not go to the army in Israel? And again, these are questions I will ask my students, and we'll get like this whole conversation about this issue. For most of them, they're really learning about it in depth, beyond the headlines for the first time in their lives. All right. So why don't Haredi Jews go to the army? I can think of two major issues. One major issue is like, what do they fear? They're afraid. They're afraid of something. Haredi communities are afraid to send their Haredi kids to Israeli Defense Force. For what major reason? When they get them back after 2 or 3 years, what's going to happen? Maybe they won't have payas anymore. Maybe that beard they were growing is gone. Maybe they keep a lesser version of kashrut. Maybe they don't keep kosher at all. Oh my God, they don't keep Shabbos anymore? The end of my life, right? You guys get that, right? So there's a real fear of too much integration, as someone wrote, too much integration with non-Haredim, right? They're going to be exposed to all kinds of Israelis that they've never been exposed to before, right? So there's that fear. What's the other reason why they're not going into the army? Because they believe what? Besides the whole like assimilation issue, which is a real issue for them, what's the other big issue here for them? Why should I go to the army? I don't go to the army because my time is best spent studying Torah, right? And they believe, and again, this is the deeper issue we're not going to go into right now, but just they believe, right, that they're protecting the Jewish people in the land of Israel and the state of Israel through their prayers and through their learning of Torah. And people might not agree with that, and people might yell and scream about that, but that's their belief, and that's important to understand as well, right? So again, something that we're extracting from this song. Let's kind of zoom out a little bit more, all right? What are the other people that we see, right? So we're seeing the religious and the secular divide, all right? We're seeing Jews and Muslims, Jews and Arabs, right? We're seeing soldiers, we're seeing Ethiopians, we're seeing, women dressed really modestly, like that Haredi woman, and we're seeing women dressed very not modestly, and you get everything, between those two extremes here in Israel. Yofi. All right. So that's something that we can get in general from the song, is this idea of diversity, of who Israelis really are, breaking those stereotypes. For some people, at least. I know for me, before I came to Israel for the first time, I didn't know anything about Israel. I thought everyone was religious here. I know it sounds totally absurd and naive, right? But I share that. I remember I met my Israeli cousin who came to America on his world tour after the army for the first time before I came to Israel. Right. And, it's whatever. I had been there once, whatever. Or I had already become religious. I didn't grow up religious. I'd become religious. And I remember asking him about this famous rabbi. Have you heard about this famous rabbi? And he's like, no, I never heard of that rabbi. And I was like, shocked. I'm like, what are you talking about? I was like, it's such a famous rabbi. You're Israeli. You know about this rabbi? And I didn't get that doesn't mean just because you're Israeli that, right, you're tapped into the whole religious world. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to share my screen again. And I want to go to the end of the song. And I'm going to share my screen, but I actually have my phone open over here so I can see what people write in the chat. And I just want to show some of the stickers that this song is based on. All right, so I'm going to just kind of scroll back. I'm not going to listen again. We're just going to kind of go back to as they're putting on stickers. All right, and this is a fun kind of part of the learning activity to do with students. Like just look at the stickers, ask them for whoever can read the Hebrew. So let's just start here. All right, that blue and white sticker in the upper left-hand corner. Right, it says "Ken l'shalom," which means yes to peace. All right, so I asked my students, okay, so that bumper sticker says yes to peace. And I asked them, who do you think has it on their car? What kind of Israeli has that sticker that says yes to peace on their car? Anybody feel free to write in the chat. Who do you think will have that bumper sticker in Israel on their car? What kind of Israeli? Who's going to have a Ken l'shalom, a yes to peace sticker? Feel free to write. What do you guys think? Okay, left wing. Yafeh. Okay. My chat here, my phone is acting a little slow. So, all right. So basically, you're right, Debbie, right? That's classically going to be a left-wing Israeli car that has that sticker. But then I asked my student, like, wait, it says yes to peace. Like, who in the world is like against peace? That means like there are some Israelis that are for peace and some Israelis that are not for peace. Like the left-wingers are for peace and the right-wingers are against peace. Is that true? Feel free to answer. Are right-wingers in Israel not for peace? Do they not want peace in Israel and in the region? Right? I don't know if anyone's writing. My thing is going a little slow on my phone, but I'll just say no, right? Most right-wingers also want peace. Left wing, right wing, center, really doesn't matter. Most Israelis want peace. But what's the big question? Why would a right-winger most likely never put this sticker on his or her car? Right? Because what is that something, what does that sticker come to speak of or represent? Right, in Israel, it has come to represent the left-wing perspective politically, specifically when it comes to making peace and the conflict, right, and potential solutions. And I'll just speak it out here, right? That when someone sees that sticker, "Ken the Shalom," yes to peace, it means most likely that person is more willing to take certain steps, right? Exactly, very good, Chuck. We're ready to give up stuff, negotiating with the Palestinians. They're more willing to sacrifice, take steps forward, right? Even risky steps, right? We've seen that in the past, and we see that still today. This desire to take more risks and to take more steps than the right wing would be willing to take, even some people in the center. So good, right? So that's one sticker. Again, there's way more to that. There's way more to all of this stuff, but I'm just going to kind of cruise through here a little bit. Let's pick another one. Okay, the bottom left-hand corner. Ha'am im haGolan, right? Which means the nation is with the Golan. That's like a nice opportunity to talk to students about the Golan Heights even early in the program, right? They're not going to get to the Golan Heights until to the end of the program, right? But it's already a good time to start talking about what does that mean, the sticker Ha'am im haGolan. Show them on the map where the Golan Heights is, and to start already teaching them about the fact that the Golan Heights was not part of Israel before 1967, before the Six-Day War, and became part of Israel after the Six-Day War. And besides, East Jerusalem was the only piece of land that Israel won in the Six-Day War that they ended up annexing, right? Unlike the Gaza Strip, the Sinai the Peninsula, or the West Bank. So again, we're not going to go deep with that right now, but that's an awesome opportunity to start teaching about the Golan. Not full on, not all the stories, but at least to get it started. So later in the curriculum, you could already start to add to that. Okay, right in the middle, of course, we can see a picture of Rabin and the date that he was assassinated. We're going to tell that story later on, but already to start talking about, the tension here, the internal conflict, not just the conflict with our enemies and those on the other side of the border, but the internal conflicts of Israel, right? The right wing and the left wing, on what happens sometimes and what has happened, right? When that conflict becomes really, really intense and crosses the line. All right. This last one here in the middle, it says, Rak transfer, Yavi Shalom. Right, and I translate that to students. So that what does it say? It says only transfer will bring peace. So please share with me in the chat. What do you think that means? Maybe you've never heard that slogan. Only transfer will bring peace. What does that mean? What is this transfer talking about? Anybody want to share, answer? Move Arabs out of Israel. Okay. All right. Exactly. Right. Okay, good. I'm glad that you guys said all these different things. Closing down settlements, land swaps, very good. I'm glad you said land swaps because that's what most people think, right? And my students are a bit shocked, and I feel horrible sharing with them that anyone even shares this or has this opinion. But I do say this is a minority of a minority opinion, but it does exist, and we have to also share that, right? That there is a minority of a minority opinion here in Israel that the best way, you want peace, right? Ken the Shalom, you want peace? Get the Arabs out of here. Right? We even saw some early Zionist leaders who had that idea. It never happened, obviously. But if you go up to some hardcore, super intense and extreme right-wingers in Israel today and ask them, do they believe that we should kick the Arabs out? They will say yes, for sure. Right? And again, that is minority, and I definitely emphasize that piece as well, but it does exist, and I also share that. Right? So again, all these bumper stickers, right, we get to look at. I'll just share one last one. It's just kind of a fun way to end this activity with teenagers specifically without crossing any lines, I promise. All right. But look at the, The one in the middle with the cannabis leaf on it, that is a bumper sticker for the Alei Yorok political party, the Green Leaf Party. And I just use it as an opportunity to not share thoughts about the legality of using marijuana. That is not what I do, but I do. It's funny. They're teenagers. They kind of laugh, whatever. I do tell them that it is a political party, and that also allows me to share just for a few moments, just about the political process here in Israel. And let me just undo this. It allows me to share with them a little bit about the political process and how many political parties we have in Israel, right? Way more than in America. And basically sharing with him that though these people in this party are trying to get marijuana use legalized in Israel on a recreational level, I take that opportunity to share with them on a medical level what Israel has done and is doing, and that Israel is not only a startup nation when it comes to high tech, right, but is also a startup nation when it comes to medical marijuana use. And without going to the details right now, just the different organizations and companies and startups, which actually I have a brother-in-law who works for one of them called Canatech. They organize medical marijuana conferences all over the world. And it's just another really cool thing that Israel is helping to help out the world. We have time, literally just only a couple minutes left. I'm going to share one last song, not even the whole thing because we don't have time, but it's a really awesome one. So let me see, share screen. Here we go. All right. Okay, it's over here. How do I get that? Hold on one second. I have to. Okay, here we go. We're gonna go already a couple minutes into it. It's a live concert. It's of two very popular Israeli musicians, Omer Adam and Moshe Peretz. All right, and I'll just kind of say this to frame this. This is a live concert. Okay, they're in front of thousands of people, if not tens of thousands of people. These are two pop stars of Israel, not religious, right? And look what they're doing on stage as they're about to sing this very famous song, Modeh Ani. Check it out. I'm just going to play a little clip of it.
לפני ראש השנה אני רוצה לומר לכם שעם הטלית הזאת, על הבמה הזאת, המהפכה האמיתית זה שכל אחד ידע שצריך להיות גאה, להיות יהודי בארץ ישראל.
So I just want to say, right, here's this pop star in Israel in front of this massive crowd. And what does he say? He says, I just want you to know that with this talit on this stage, right, it's around Rosh Hashanah time, right, I want people to know that they should be so proud to be a Jew living in the land of Israel, right? Pretty wild for a pop star to say that.
איך נהיה חזקים ונדע תמיד שיש אחד ששומר עלינו ואין עוד מלבדו.
Right, he's saying that we should always be strong. We should know that there's someone above us, protecting us, looking over us.
מודה אני כל בוקר שהחזרת את נשמתי, מודה אני על בגד שהנחת על גופי, שלא יהיה לי קר, אתה שומר עליי.
מודה אני כל בוקר על האור, על עצם היותי, מודה אני על לחם שהנחת לשולחני, שלא אהיה רעב, שלא אדע כאב.
על אין-ספור חיוכיי מודה אני, על כל כישרונותיי ועל כל שיריי, את כולם מקדיש לך. דע לך, אבא שמודה אני לך.
Okay, so I'm going to stop the song here. Oh, it's so hard to stop that song in the middle. Such a beautiful song. And I just want to wrap up this song with a few thoughts. I'm not going to do a question and answer thing just for the sake of time, but just to share a couple of thoughts that come out of a conversation about this song and things that I share with my students. And when I explain to them why I shared this song specifically with them. All right, so here again, you have these two Israeli mega pop stars. Right, Omer Adam and Moshe Peretz. They're on the stage in front of thousands of people. They put on a talit. They put on a kippah. They don't normally wear kippot. Right? They're not like, classic religious Jews living in Israel. Yet when they're on stage wrapped in their talit and with their kippah, when they start to sing, they look like these two guys like suckling in shul, like praying. Right? Their eyes closed and looking up above and their hands, outstretched. Like, what's going on? Like, you wouldn't see that normally, right? In anywhere probably in the world, including America, especially America, right? This like mega pop star, talking like this, acting like this, and speaking like this on stage. Right? First of all, we should understand that this song, for those who don't know, Modeh Ani, right? I give thanks, is based off of a traditional Jewish prayer. Right? This whole song is based off of Jewish tradition. And here they are standing in front of all these people, in front of like the world, basically saying, I'm proud to be a Jew living in the land of Israel. And though I might not be totally religious, it doesn't matter. I don't have to be totally religious to still be connected to my tradition, to feel inspired by my tradition, to know about my tradition, right? These guys are like connected. They're like well-versed. They're knowledgeable and they're proud. Right, first and foremost, they're so proud. I know for me, and that's like my personal thing, but I share this with my students. I grew up in America as a Jew, very, very, disconnected Jewishly. I was not proud. Right, that was probably the last thing I was proud about in terms of my own personal identity was my Jewish identity. Right, and here, like these guys are just like totally flaunting their Jewish pride. Right, the last thing I share, and this is my last thought I share with you guys as well. I say is like, I share with them. With my students when I talk about this song and we're processing it, is that it's interesting to note that these two guys are Sephardi, right? Omer Adam is his father's Sephardi, his mom's actually Ashkenazi. Moshe Peretz, his father is from Morocco, his mom's from Iraq, right? Or at least of Moroccan and Iraqi roots. And I share that with my students, and I share that with you now, not to say that Ashkenazi Jews can't be like that. Not to say that Ashkenazi Jews in Israel can't like feel that same pride and connection, even if they're not fully religious. That's not my point. But it is to say that you do see, let's be honest, right? For those who live here or have been here enough times, that Sephardi Jews, they have a different history. They came to Israel, right, with the creation of the state with a different past. And they, for the most part, they kept that pride and that connection to tradition intact a lot more than Ashkenazi Jewry did, right? That's just like basically a fact, right? Not a judgment, but just like a reality, right? And so you see like these two mega pop stars in Israel, Sephardi, and they're just like, yeah, like this is who I am. Like, God, I love you. Put a talit and a black kippah on the stage in Tel Aviv, wherever this show was from. And they're not embarrassed and not hiding, and they're totally like, this is who I am, right? Omer Adam, you should know, it's a crazy thing. Last year, Eurovision, right, when Israel won, so we had it in Tel Aviv, right? And, there this big event. Omer Adam was invited. He was the one looking at the screen on the right, who was singing like this. He was invited to sing as part of the Eurovision big event, which was taking place on a Saturday night, right? After Shabbat, of course, in Israel, right? He said no. They offered him $1 million shekels to play at this event. Saturday night after Shabbat, he said no. Why did he say no? This Israeli, secular, not religious pop star. Why did Omer Adam say no? Why did he say no to $1 million shekels to play probably, a couple songs at this event for Eurovision? Because the practices, the rehearsals were being held on Shabbat. And he himself made a commitment long ago never to break Shabbat for his music. Never to play on Shabbat and never break Shabbat for his music. That in and of itself is a whole nother lesson, right? That we can talk about. Now we won't, but I do, as our program goes on, I talk about with my students that maybe where you guys are coming from and where I came from, America, everything's kind of like, in a box, like you're over here and you're over there and the two shall not meet. Right? Religious or not religious, and that's it. It's a closed door. Here in Israel, it's not like that. It's so much more fluid. There's so much of a bigger gray area in between. Right, where people, share traditions, connect to traditions, right, and feel that real, strong Jewish pride in ways that's very hard to see outside of this land. So again, I want to thank you guys for tuning in and for taking part. It was really fun and a pleasure to share with you guys. all right, especially through music, especially as a musician. There's just like a little snippet of what there is to share, but I hope it gave you guys enough of a taste to take something with you on your way. And I just want to wish all of you guys in these very challenging and unprecedented times strong health, strong strength, and just, you know, the will to be happy no matter what happens. As we talked about at the beginning of this class, that we should choose happiness no matter what. We can still choose happiness even right now. Thank you so much, guys. Erev Tov.
Wanted to thank everyone. I wanted to thank Akiva for an amazing, amazing lesson. We'll be doing these every day, Monday to Thursday, obviously not for Fridays because we'll have someone for Shabbat. But wanted to thank everyone for joining us, and we will see you on next week's call. Thank you so much.